Okay, so just a few more examples I wanted to do with you guys so that you have a little bit more practice with this. So again, we're going to start by looking for the greatest common factor for the coefficients here. So 75, we have like 1 and 75, 3 and 25, 5 and 15. Let's think through and make sure there's not any more. And actually show you on your calculator, there's a way to look for greatest common factors with your calculator. So if you do y equals, and you do the number that you're looking for divided by x, 75 divided by x, and hit second graph, which is the table, this will actually pull up all of your factors. So you'll notice, just a second, we'll get pulled up here. So 1 and 75, of course, is a factor. The rest of these are not whole numbers, so we're not going to call them factors. So 3 and 25, 5 and 15, and then we switch back to 15 and 5. So those are going to be the only factors that we have on that. Okay, and then we'll look for 60. Oops. And we'll do the same thing there. So starting with 1, of course, 1 and 60, and then 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10, and then it switches back here to 10 and 6, so same factors. So those are going to be the ones that we have to work with. So greatest common of these is going to be 15, it looks like. 15. So 15 will be the coefficient that we use here for the GCF, and now we're going to look at the variables. So x is present in both, and y is present in both. So we're going to use the smallest exponent of each. So we have an x squared and an x, so we're going to use x, it's the smaller of the two. And we have y cubed in both, so we're actually going to use y cubed here. So we're going to divide each of these terms by 15xy cubed. So here's our greatest common factor. And 75 divided by 15 is 5. And then x squared divided by x leaves us with just x. Y cubed divided by y cubed is just 1. So it would just be 5x. Plus 60 divided by 15 is 4. And then x, y cubed is all going to stay the same. So this would be our final greatest common factor. And so then we're just going to check ourselves real fast. 15 times 5, 75. X times x is x squared and y cubed. Plus 15 times 4 is 60. X, y cubed. And that is what we started with. So final answer on this one does end up being this right here. Okay. So greatest common factor can be a little bit confusing if you're not careful. You just want to make sure that you take your time on it and ask questions and practice, because the more that you practice, the more it's going to make sense, okay? So here we're going to look, and we have 3 numbers that we're going to be looking for a greatest common factor here. So we have 1 and 10, 2 and 5, and then we have 1 and 2, and then here we have 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. And so the greatest common between all of these is 2. So 2 is what we're going to use for the coefficient. Then we're going to check variables. So x, x, and x. And just x is the smallest. And then y, 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 and y is the smallest. So that means I'm going to be dividing each of these by 2xy. So 2xy is going to be my greatest common factor. 10 divided by 2 is 5. X cubed divided by x is x squared. Y squared divided by y is y. Okay, and again, we're just using those power rules, which we've already practiced last semester. It should be there for you. We also practiced doing this last week. Then we have a negative 2 divided by 2, which is negative 1. X divided by x. Y squared divided by y leaves us with just y. 14 divided by 2 is 7. And then x and y is just 1. So we can leave it just like that. And then, of course, just check yourself and make sure that works. So 2xy multiplied by 5x squared y minus y plus 7. That gives us 10x cubed y squared minus 2xy squared plus 14xy. And it's hard to read that, but it does come out to be the same as what we started with. So that means that our final answer on this one is going to be correct. Okay. All right, and then we have one more example I'm going to do with you. So we start again. We have 1 and 9 and 3. Okay, those are factors for this coefficient. Or 1 and 18 and 2 and 9 and 3 and 6. That's for 18. And then 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So it looks like 3 is going to be our greatest here. So I'm going to pull out that 3. X is not present in all of them, so we can't use that one. Y is not present in all of them, so we can't use that, but we can use Z. So we have a Z cubed and a Z squared. So the smaller is Z squared. So that's what we're going to divide everything by, is 3Z squared. Okay, so 3Z squared is going to be our greatest common factor, and then we're going to divide it to get our leftovers. 9 divided by 3 is 3. X comes down, and then this becomes just 1Z. And then we have 18 divided by 3 is 6. Y comes down, and those Z squareds become 1. And then we have 8, and the Z squareds are just 1, so it works out just like that. So we check ourselves. 3 times 3, 9xz cubed plus 18y z squared and 24z squared. And that is what we started with. So our final answer on this one is going to look just like this. Okay? So like I said, the more that you practice this, the easier it will be. So I would encourage you to go ahead and do the evens here. Go ahead and start at 2. There's 12 problems. It's plenty of practice that way. Work on those evens. If you have questions, ask me. If you want me to check them to make sure that you did them correctly, just send me a picture of it, and I'll be happy to check that for you. Okay, so that's what you're going to be working on today, and then we'll move on into something a little bit more challenging from here.